Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt just confirmed that the White House is negotiating the 10% stake in Intel. If you're bearish on Intel right now, I don't know what to say to you. This is probably as significant mainstream news event as could possibly be. The government buying a piece of stock. This is financial advice. Let's jump into the analysis. All right, so here's the story, guys. It started on August 7th, and I'll trace the actual price of the stock as we go through the news, because all we actually care about is where the stock moves, because we're buying and hoping the stock's going to go up. I'm just repeating that because there's a lot of focus on this news, and what we need to do is make sure we're buying based on what the news actually did. So August 7th is right here. Trump called for the Intel CEO's resignation, okay? Saying this CEO, his name is Lip-Bu Tan, had ties to Chinese companies, and he thought that was a conflict. So Intel actually dropped on that day. CEO Tan issued a letter reaffirming his loyalty to the U.S., and he later met with Trump at the White House. Okay, so the stock did recover, okay, but on the 11th, they held a candid and constructive meeting with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Trump said Tan had an amazing story, quote unquote, that eased some tensions and laid some groundwork for deeper discussions. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So there was significant volume here before this move, okay? Some volume here, prices higher here. This is the actual move. Bloomberg reported that discussions were underway that the U.S. government was considering acquiring a stake in Intel, which is a notable shift after this statement by Trump saying the CEO, again, had conflicted ties to Chinese companies. On the 18th, which is just yesterday as of the time of this video, the White House confirmed, well, that the Trump administration is in talks to convert some or all of the $10.9 billion in CHIPS Act grant into a 10% equity stake in Intel without governance rights. So that's an important caveat, without governance rights, meaning that you don't have to worry about Trump or his cabinet members pulling the strings on this stock. Intel still can follow its own leadership, okay? And if the money is coming from grants, well, Intel giving up 10% equity is huge, but at the same time, this isn't like a credit situation like Tesla had in its early days, and which Trump has been holding over the head of Elon. This is 10% stake in Intel, and also, unlike Tesla, Intel is a company that has faltered, okay, to say the least. Compared to all the semis, Intel is the clear laggard. So this volume is above previous volume to date. This is pretty, it's a good sign for the price of the stock going up. It's not overpowering, and as you can see, the stock's going sideways. And then today, the White House confirmed, as I said in the intro via Caroline Leavitt, that Lutnick is spearheading negotiations to acquire a 10% non-voting stake in Intel, okay? Which is what I just said, no governance rights. And Trump framed this move as a way to ensure taxpayer returns and push for domestic chip production. So, I don't really know what taxpayer returns could possibly be, but I guess he wants to capture all of the tariffs, and the implication is that tariffs aren't being captured with Intel having quote-unquote conflicted ties with China. Lutnick emphasized the idea of getting equity for his money, and Besant clarified that the stake is meant to stabilize Intel, not influencing purchasing decisions or operations. So I think that's actually pretty bullish, given that there is comments from the press secretary, which is Trump. There's comments from Lutnick, which is, he represents investment banks. And then there's a comment from Besant, and he represents the Fed. As close as you can be without Jay Powell talking about this, which he wouldn't be expected to. So with all that said, if you're not looking at Intel right now, I think you're a little off your rocker. I'm not saying it's definitely a buy. You can see what happened today. It actually sold off after some enthusiasm here. Okay? But keep in mind, it's still relatively strong compared to what the SPY did, which is sell off significantly. So there's some relative strength in Intel compared to the SPY, seeing this background overlay. We have comments from Besant, Lutnick, and Trump through Levitt. The chart looks not incredible, but that's just because it sold off in earnings. And for it to come back and hold is a pretty big deal, given the SPY has been selling off the past few days. So that's really it for Intel, fundamentally. Price level wise, if it can hold here, it can be pretty bullish. Here's the left side peak. Here is a, well, why don't we just look at the actual volume, because this is basically what we're talking about. There's very little volume traded up here, and this is over the past 365 days. So we can see that there's a gap to fill, okay, before we get to this level. And that's basically the argument for Intel right now is, can you risk $1 and make $7 or more? Okay? And with that in mind, if you're curious about what we're doing here, what swing trading is all about, here's the quick swing trading math. So let's say you put, someone asked me about this yesterday, 10% of your portfolio in a stock, and you risk 0.5%, okay? That means you're risking 0.5% times 0.1, you're risking 0.05 of a percent, right? Of your entire equity, okay? So not very much of your equity at all, okay? Now, you're risking 0.05 of a percent, 5/100ths of a percent of your total equity on every trade. If you do that and you stop out even just 10 times, okay, that is going to make 0.5% of your total equity of a loss. So you have 10 losses, stay with me here, at 0.05% of your total equity. That's 0.5% of your total equity. That's 0.5% of your total equity. And if you get one win of a 10% position of 10%, that's a 1% increase in your total equity. So that 1% subtracts the 0.5% for the 10 losses. You're up 0.5% on your total equity. So if you had $100,000, you'd be up 0.5%, you'd be up $500. If you do that, maybe 10 times, a month. Now you're up, well, we'll have to pull out the compound calculator here, but you've basically made not 50% in a month, you've made significantly more than that. So that's the extreme case for swing trading. Are you going to lose more than 10 times? You might. Are you going to have more than a 10% winner? You might. Is making 50% in a month insane? It is. But each of those numbers, how much you lose, how much you make, and what it comes out to in a month, are all reasonable that I just gave for someone who is locked in. Okay, I'm talking about the 0.1% of investors. Those are the strategies I bring to you on this channel. I do have a free call if you want to talk to me about your portfolio, you want to talk about risk management, you want to talk about individual stocks. That link is down below at selfadvisors.com, which is a calendar link. And I also have a free training with a $9 million verified day trader if you're trying to get into day trading, or if you're just interested in picking up a strategy or two from someone who makes 10,000 to 30,000 a day. Sometimes he loses 50,000, sometimes he makes 400, 500,000. So jump into that video right now. I'm going to log into his broker in the video and you'll hear directly from him. You can sign up for that training at AikidoTradingMethod.com. You guys are awesome, and let's hear Adam now.
Thanks for checking out this free training. I'm here with the lead sensei of the Aikido trading method, Adam Geffert. I'm just going to log into his broker very quickly so you can see that his results are real. This is his Guardian broker. He does have more brokers than this, but you can see that he's made about $4 million net.
Yeah, Guardian's been a good broker for me. And in this quick video, I'm gonna show the viewer how to trade. Show them a little taste of the Aikido trading method, method that I've. So let's start with the times to trade. The best times I think to trade are on the pre-market and after hours. The stocks move differently than market hours because there's less traders at that time, and also you can do it in those hours, and it won't disrupt a day job or it won't disrupt things that you might want to do during the day. And let's take a look at some of the trades I actually did today here. I'll share my screen. So these are some of my brokers here. They're all brokers that where you can short microcap stocks below 50 million market cap, nano cap and microcap. And here's a trade I did today. This is KTTA. So I made about close to $30,000 on this broker with this one. And I started out in the pre-market after the news hit at around 7 a.m. I shorted it, then I covered.
And if someone's interested in learning more, how can they reach out?
They can go to AikidoTradingMethod.com and click on the free training, and there's some links on there where you can go and then you enter your name and email address, and that actually goes to this video right here. But what we'll do is we'll email you and tell you the next steps to learn more about the Aikido trading method.